Envy is a standalone application for Mac and Windows, with integrations into some popular DAWs. You can send sounds from your DAW into Envy to be modified, or generate some new sounds and then send back to your DAW in a kind of round-trip workflow. At the most basic level, it has two tasks. Firstly, to pitch shift, bend, or gain modulate an existing sound. And secondly, to apply characteristics of an existing sound to some other unrelated sounds. So apply to source is useful when you just want to make some pitch or gain modulations to a sound. Whereas apply to textures is more like the morphing mode, where you want to create entirely new audio files. So the user interface is broken into four main sections: the source view, the textures view, the processing modules, and the preferences window. The source view shows the various envelopes extracted from the source audio or drawn by the user. The pitch and gain lines use the color corresponding to their process module and their respective edit mode buttons. So pitch is red or orange, gain is blue. The pitch and gain envelopes can be created and modified by the user using one of the edit tools. Each tool has a few different options, hidden under modifier keys. For example, the Smart tool can do drawing, amount, shift, triangle, and reset. The modulation tool can do sine, square, and triangle using the shift and command modifiers. The grabber can select multiple breakpoints and shift them around, as well as create and delete individual breakpoints. And using shift, the pencil tool can draw a modifier path to apply to an existing envelope. Check out the user manual for the full list of options. The amplitude envelope is represented by the bright green outline, whereas the spectral module is represented by the green or yellow fill color. There are two playheads, one for the amplitude and spectral envelopes, and one for the pitch envelope. Most of the time, these are running together at the same speed, so you won't notice the pitch playhead at all. However, in vari-speed mode, the pitch playhead will run at a different, variable rate. So you'll see the two separate. The textures view is where you add, remove, and modify multiple texture files. The textures timeline expands to fit the longest loaded texture, and shorter textures are shown as looping around with a grayed out waveform. The texture-specific sliders will appear anytime you mouse over the texture and disappear after a short delay. The gain slider adjusts gain for each texture. The offset slider slips the texture audio back and forth in time so you can make fine adjustments to sync. The pitch slider vari-speeds the texture audio up or down, creating a shorter or longer audio clip and changing the pitch. The texture loading menus enable fast loading of factory textures or recently used textures. The factory textures directory can be added to by the user. The process modules are the DSP processing stages which are applied to the source or texture audio, depending on which mode you're in. The pitch module applies pitch shifting or bending in a variety of ways. Using scan from source, Envy will attempt to read a pitch envelope from the source file and draw a pitch bend curve for you. Two modes are offered, and they usually give quite different results depending on the content, so try them both. Multiple pitch shifting modes are offered, with vary speed being a special mode in which the pitch playhead runs at a variable rate. The various pitch modes display a distinct dash pattern on the pitch curve, with vary speed also using an orange color to make it obvious that time is not being respected. The Spectral Module controls the multi-band spectral envelope set. The 4 band sliders control the extent to which the envelope for each band is applied or ignored. So when set to 0%, the band will pass through just as it was in the original texture audio. At 100%, that band will follow very closely whatever was happening in the source. The Spectral Module is usually only used when the Amplitude Module is also enabled. The Amplitude Module controls the broadband amplitude envelope. This is where the overall level of the texture is affected to match the general shape of the source. The Gain Module controls the gain envelope curve drawn by the user. And the Post-Process Module applies a brick wall look-ahead limiter and output gain stage to help control the final rendered audio. For Pro Tools integration, Envy 2 uses the Envy Connect Audio Suite plugin. Envy Connect is used to send a selected audio region to the main Envy application. You can send to Envy either as source or texture audio. The Envy application will open and load the audio you've just sent. The plugin interface will also change to let you know that the audio has been sent to Envy and that the plugin is waiting for audio to be returned. Once you've done your work in Envy and you wish to return the audio to your DAW, you have a number of different options. Send Mixed Render back to the Helper plugin. This option renders the audio in Envy and sends a copy to the Envy Connect Helper plugin. You might use this mode if you're just applying a pitch bend to a clip using Apply to Source mode. You can then render the audio to the timeline using the Render button. This allows you to make a different selection or render over top of the audio you sent. Keep in mind that Envy Connect will render exactly the duration of the audio that was sent to it, ignoring the length of your selection. So you may want to disable the Render Loops option in Envy to avoid long renders caused by long textures. Spot Mixed Render to tracks in DAW. This option mixes down all of your textures to a single audio stream and spots the audio directly to a track in your DAW. Where the textures are longer than the source audio, Envy will loop around the source range, making separate files for each loop. These can be optionally spotted either horizontally along the track or vertically to tracks below. Just make sure you have enough tracks created for this purpose. In Reaper, Envy will create new tracks for you. Spot individual renders to tracks in DAW. This option creates separate audio layers for each of the textures active in Envy, allowing you to mix and edit them as separate layers inside your DAW. As with the Mixed Render option, loops can be spotted horizontally or vertically, though horizontal makes a lot more sense in this case. For Reaper integration, Envy uses a Reaper extension. This provides 2 new actions in Reaper, which allow it to send the selected audio to Envy, either as source or as textures. You can assign shortcuts to these actions, or add them as triggers on your Reaper interface. The workflow with Soundminer is pretty simple. Files, or sections of files, can be dragged out of Soundminer using the small hand icon, and then dropped onto either the source or the textures view in Envy. Once you've done your mutations in Envy, you can export the rendered files to a folder and manage the databasing as you normally would in Soundminer. Envy allows you to record directly into the source audio buffer from a microphone, instrument, or any other audio device. This presents some interesting opportunities for creating creature vocals, performing drum patterns on the tabletop, or using your voice to create the shape of a sound effect. Simply hit the record button or type Command Space, and the source view will switch into live recording mode. When you're finished, hit space to stop, and then trim the source range selection using the small yellow handles at the top of the view. When experimenting with Envy, you often do something quite remarkable and unexpected. And after stopping, you may wish that you'd kept a copy of your Grammy-winning performance. So we have the auto-record feature. When enabled, this will cause Envy to record every playback pass to a separate file on disk, keeping the 10 most recent playback passes. If you want to access an auto-record file, you can simply drag the file from the directory, or use the Spot Last Auto Record button to send it directly to your DAW. With Envy 2, we can now save the entire session as a .envy file, including references to any audio files used. You can also save just the parameter settings in a .preset file. These are useful for recalling your favorite setup for some particular task, without affecting the audio files already loaded. The possibilities with Envy are truly limitless, so be sure to take some time and really experiment. There's a full-featured 30-day trial included, so grab a copy today and start creating.